Live from the NJ.com studio comes the only weekly TV podcast you'll need, where a lofty critic squares off with an obsessed superfan on everything from highbrow drama to lowbrow reality. The cocktail shaker is ready. Prepare for your TV hangover. Now, your hosts, Vicki Hyman and Erin Medley.
Hello and welcome to TV Hangover. This is Erin Medley alongside Vicki Hyman. Hi, Vicki.
Hey.
It's show number 31.
Not very special.
Not very special at all, but well, they're all special. Don't forget to follow us on social media at TV Hangover Show, at @E_Meds, and at Vicki High, VICKIHY. We also have an email address, tvhangovershow at NJ.com. So, Vicki, I'm sort of like over this TV season.
It's funny you should mention that because I'm actually feeling a little energized now that it has opened up a little bit for me. This past Sunday, Billions was over, Shameless was over. I'd already watched the first 3 episodes of Fear the Walking Dead. I had caught up on Outlander from the previous night, and I was like, I watched Vinyl, and then I watched the girls' finale, and I was like, I guess I can go to sleep now. That is nuts. And I just feel like I've got more time in my. Of course, I still didn't get a chance to watch The Night Manager, which I had the screeners for.
I want to watch
which
that.
Is supposed to be amazing. Hugh Laurie and Tom Hiddleston.
Right.
Haven't gotten a chance to watch that yet.
Well, I mean, all of your shows are over because they have shorter seasons. I watch a lot more broadcast TV than you do, and I keep looking at my DVR or like the info screen, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Quantico's only on episode 18. We still have 4 more of these to go. Like, I felt that way with a lot of shows this week, where I'm just like, can we wrap this up already? Like, what are we even talking about anymore? So I'm kind of ready for this TV season to be over. I'm ready for the mindless summer TV that I plan on watching, like Big Brother. Oh, so good. It's a classic.
I haven't watched since Chicken George, which I believe is maybe the second season.
Yeah, that was a very early on season. I can't wait for those type of summer shows. Oh, and what's the show on Lifetime about the Bachelor type? You know, the one where it's like behind the scenes of the show.
Unreal. Yes.
Unreal.
I saw a little 5-minute clip they had. My TiVo picked up a 5-minute teaser clip for it, which was, I'm very excited. It starts in June, I believe.
Too. Oh, good. Okay. And also Mistresses is another summer show.
Okay. All right. And I saw coming up next month, we've talked about this, I think, a couple of weeks ago, but M. Night Shyamalan's Wayward Pines. Yes. Excited about that.
See?
And, there's this little show on HBO that's starting next week. It's always on the risk of cancellation. Yeah. Game of Thrones is next.
It's not Veep. That's not the one. Veep. No. You know what? I love Game of Thrones. I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan, but I also love Veep.
I actually did watch the first 2 episodes of that. It's they sent me the first 4 episodes. It's very, very good. It's like,
of course,
the thing about it is that it's like it doesn't really seem to get better or worse. It's just always really good. It's very, very solid.
Consistently funny and surprising at times. And don't tell me what happens, but answer this one question.
Okay.
Potential spoiler alert, so I'm going to put that out there. Do we see Hugh Laurie?
Yes. Oh, okay. Not as much as I would like. Not as much as I would like in the first 2 episodes.
Okay. But he is there.
Yeah. Do you want me to just set up?
No.
Okay.
No. Because you may give something away.
Okay. Well,
no,
okay, fine.
Don't give it away. We can all assume what happens based on last season's finale, but we will not. Oh, and speaking of Veep and Game of Thrones, this is a good time to make a programming announcement.
Yes.
Next week, we will be recording the podcast on Monday so that we can immediately talk about Game of Thrones
and how Jon Snow is not dead.
Yes, and all of those fun things. So look for the podcast on Monday of next week instead of Wednesday. All right, Vicki, we have a lot of TV news to get to today. Some of it you don't know about because I'm just springing this on you. No, you know about all of these. Michael Strahan, the former Giants player, is leaving Live with Kelly and Michael and joining the cast of Good Morning America.
The cast?
Well, you know.
The staff. They're supposedly journalists.
Michael Strahan is not a journalist.
It's supposedly.
Okay, exactly. The cast of Good Morning America full-time,
because he'd been doing it
Tuesday.
Part-time.
Yeah, he'd been doing it part-time. He'd leave live with Kelly and Michael and hang
So now we have to fill that slot again.
Yes, so he's been the co-host of my favorite British term that I'm going to use now, Morning Chat Show. I love that. He's been the co-host of the Morning Chat Show since 2012. And this fall, when the show returns for its 1 millionth season, they will do tryouts like they did when Regis left the first time. Now, I want to hear from you, if you have any, potential co-host replacements.
I don't know why this is coming up, and you're going to be like, where did this come from? But Adam Lambert. What? I don't know why that popped into my head.
Okay, that will never work.
It's not going to happen.
It's also not going to happen. I would say a more realistic choice would be Neil Patrick Harris.
No, he would never do that. It's too much work.
Excuse me.
Too much work.
You say that. However, he hosted a live variety show.
Which was limited,
a lot of work.
Limited.
It was limited because no one
watched it. And very limited because I don't think he's coming back. No, I do not see him.
What is he doing otherwise?
I don't know, but he's living a beautiful life in Los Angeles. I don't think he'd
I think he lives here.
No, I think he lives in Los Angeles.
That show was shot here.
Which show?
The variety show.
Well, the variety show that doesn't really exist anymore?
Yeah, but why would he do it here?
I've seen pictures of his beautiful house in Los Angeles.
All right. I'm sure he's bi-coastal. Who are we kidding?
Probably.
A lot of people have been floating Anderson Cooper. Because they're friends. He's filled in many times.
I know, but I think Anderson Cooper still fashions himself more of a serious journalist.
He can do both. Remember when Anderson Cooper had a talk show? That was
like
a couple years ago.
You're right. I don't know. I just don't see it.
All right. Do you think, and I've seen this floated online, that it's time for Live with Kelly to have another female co-host? Would that work?
I don't think so, because people. I think if people want to watch that, they'll probably be watching Hoda and Kathy Lee.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
All right. In other TV news, Stana Katic will not be returning to Castle next season, which breaks my heart.
If Castle returns next season,
I have the news item here.
Sorry.
If there even is a next season, Katic plays Kate Beckett, the wife of mystery novelist turned NYPD consultant turned PI Richard Castle. Also not returning is Tamala Jones, who played Lainey,
her best friend.
Well, she was also the
coroner?
Thank you, the coroner. The show is headed into its 9th season. Erin Medley still watches every Monday night at 10 o'clock, does not miss it, does not watch on DVR, watches live.
Wow.
That's right.
I've seen, I think, maybe half an episode of it.
It's so good. You have to.
I love Nathan Fillion, and
right?
I just can't help feeling, and this is based purely on the half episode I saw, that we are wasting his talents on the show.
Oh, disagree completely.
Although his main talent seems to be like a ridiculous amount of charisma and charm.
That is correct,
which is probably what the show is all about.
It is what it's all about.
It's been coasting on, I'm guessing, for a long time.
It has not been coasting on for a long time. The storylines that they come up with are pretty good, as far as the crime of the week. Now, I'd say the through storylines are not that great. So, Richard Castle last year on the way to his wedding with Beckett was kidnapped. I still don't think we have a resolution for that. I'm kind of ready for them to just tell us what the heck happened and for it to be over. Although maybe we did get a resolution for that a few weeks ago and I wasn't paying attention.
I think it's interesting what this means for the future of the show, because why would they, if they're planning on ending the show, then why would they just say, well, she's not coming back, and not just end the show.
Right.
Certainly shows can continue after a main character is left. David Duchovny from The X-Files lasted a couple more seasons. Charlie Sheen, obviously, the show lasted after that. This is a little different because we're talking about, they're the main couple.
They are the main couple,
8 years.
But it's not like Nathan Fillion is leaving. It's called Castle.
It is, but hasn't it always been about their partnership?
Yes.
It's like a buddy cop thing, and one of the buddies is leaving.
Yeah, but there are two other cops, Espo and Ryan, who are not leaving as far as we know, and they are a huge part of the show as well.
Do you think they kill her off, or do you think we'd have some sort of ER situation where Juliana Margulies and George Clooney at the very last moment get together? You see them after one of them leaves the show. Who was it, by the way? Was it Juliana Margulies who was leaving the show, and then we see her going to this wooded cabin and finding George Clooney, or was it the other way around?
No, I think it was that way.
Okay.
She was leaving, and he was.
So he had a happy ending, even though he'd already left.
Right. No, I think that given where we are this season, where there's this whole conspiracy going on with some people trying to kill Kate, and because at one point she left to work for the CIA,
Interpol.
the FBI, some government agency, and then all of her coworkers were killed, and blah blah blah. Like, again, I repeat, the through storyline never interests me. So I think she could possibly die, but then I don't see how Castle could carry on after that, because she's the love of his life, and that would change the tone of the show. Because while the show does deal with murder and crime, it has like a light airiness to it at times, and I think that would overshadow it. So maybe she just has to go into like witness protection or something. But then why wouldn't he go? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I think they're just gearing up for the show to be over. Because in last season's finale, the way that it ended, the show could have ended and it would have been fine. And all of the storylines were wrapped up, and, it made sense.
So we got like 3 or 4 episodes left of the show this season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. All right. I have some other news. Major news. Big news. For Saved by the Bell fans, a theme restaurant based on the show will open in Chicago's Wicker Park neighborhood on June 1st of this year. Saved by the Max is what it's called, will be modeled after the Max, which was basically its own character on the comedy. So this is a quote from the guy who came up with this idea for the restaurant. We needed a place that would allow fans to feel as if they've been transported back to Bayside and are fully immersed in the universe of the show. The final look of the space is going to be a dream come true and deliver the grand slam nostalgic experience everyone has been waiting for. Bated breath.
Everyone.
Now,
did they get the okay from Saved by the Bell? Because, in New Jersey, we had those people who were trying to create a Walking Dead restaurant.
And that did not happen.
No.
I don't know. It's a good question. So that quote was from CBS Chicago. The guy is Derek Barry. There is a catch. It's not a permanent restaurant. It's more like a pop-up restaurant. It's only going to be open for 1 month, and you have to reserve your tickets in advance starting April 22nd. So if anyone's interested in, what did I say it's called? Saved by the Max. You can head out to Chicago in June. Check that out.
I think I read a story, maybe it was the New York Times Magazine, about how all the millennials are really super into Friends, and how there have been pop-ups of the Central Perk. So maybe this is all part of...
I think they did the Central Perk pop-up in New York.
I think they also did it in Europe, in Germany.
Yeah. I mean, I never watched Friends.
You never watched Friends?
I thought I'd maybe watch 1 or 2 episodes. I did not think it was funny.
Wow. That's something you should probably just check out again?
No.
Yeah?
It's not funny.
Yeah?
Disagree. Yeah, no, you're not going to convince me of that one. Sorry, friend. All right.
I think Alyssa's having a stroke over there.
I'm just not. Speaking of shows that I tried to watch that I was not amused by or enjoyed.
Everything on CBS?
No. Confirmation. The HBO made-for-TV movie about the Clarence Thomas confirmation, the Anita Hill saga, starring Kerry Washington and Wendell Pierce. Vicky.
Oh my God, I'm like...
Before we even get into it, I'd like to read from a review that was posted to the interwebs by one Vicki Hyman, where the headline is HBO's confirmation review, like C-SPAN, but boring.
I was proud of that one.
And to that I say she is absolutely correct. All right, so here's my favorite passage. The performances are fine. Washington is all quiet dignity as Hill. Pierce brings the notoriously silent Thomas to life with a seething righteousness. And Greg Kinnear impresses as a deer in the headlights Joe Biden with a wicked comb over.
Yes.
That's not in this piece of writing. I just added that as an aside. Then the senator who presided over the hearings. But the writing is flat and the direction as perfunctory as a C-SPAN broadcast. And the film is also overstuffed with vintage footage of talking heads constantly spelling out the stakes. It was it was more boring than C-SPAN. At least those were real people. Like, those are actual real-life people, not actors portraying. real life people, and I think that one of the major issues I have with it, you said that Washington is all quiet dignity. I think she was trying too hard to imitate Anita Hill as opposed to acting the role.
Well, I don't think there was much role to be acted because you didn't get like a lot of internal life going on there. I mean, you saw that she was really upset. You know, her parents were going to have to sit there, and I did think that the scene where she's testifying and basically Joe Biden is making her like repeat these hideous, the allegations, people care my coke, But it's like, I had to keep comparing it to the People versus O.J. Simpson, which I think spoiled me for like some of these real life dramas taken from actual situations where there just wasn't anything. It wasn't telling us anything. It wasn't doing anything with the material. It was just we're just playing this thing out again with famous people,
right,
in the roles.
Well, let's take a listen to this clip of Kerry Washington giving her opening statement.
I have no personal vendetta against Clarence Thomas. I seek only to provide the committee with information which it may regard as relevant. It would have been more comfortable to remain silent. I took no initiative to inform anyone, but when I was asked by a representative of this committee to report my experience, I felt that I had to tell the truth. I could not keep silent.
See, when I hear that, it sounds like imitation. There's no act. That's not how Kerry Washington speaks. That's how Anita Hill speaks, and I think that is the part that really threw me off throughout the entire the part of the movie that I watched.
Oh, really?
Yes. Because even in the People versus O.J. Simpson, I would say that people would agree Sarah Paulson was a great Marcia Clark. But if you were to put Sarah Paulson in a room with Marcia Clark, they wouldn't sound exactly alike.
And actually, that was kind of the flaw of the John Travolta portrayal, was that he was doing sort of an exaggerated Shapiro as opposed to just trying to be Shapiro.
Right, but at least he was doing something. Like, he was acting. I feel like Kerry Washington was reciting lines and trying really hard to just imitate Anita Hill, and I think it stifled her performance.
Well, I was actually kind of pleased with the Kerry Washington performance because I think she tends to go too far to the overacting spectrum. And, she acts a lot with, like, her mouth and her jaw a lot. And, I think who else does that? I think Keira Knightley does that, too. Like, sort of, like, all about, like, the jaw acting.
Right.
And I just did not... I don't enjoy that at all on Scandal, and so I was like, okay, she's reining it in. This is a good thing. Right. And it's like there just wasn't much to act.
Yeah, I mean,
any of the characters really.
I've
Joe Biden a little bit because I mean, like you did see some behind. Like I think some of the behind the scenes was interesting, but it was like,
but there wasn't much of it.
Yeah, not that much of it.
I will say the one thing the movie Confirmation is good for. A game of 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of actors in it, and those are always the best movies when you're playing that game. So FYI, if for no other reason, that's why you should watch Confirmation.
Okay. I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you. Eric Stone Street and Kevin Bacon.
Look, we don't have all day here, people, but it can work. It's just like the movie JFK is a really good movie for 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. Anyway.
Wasn't he in?
Was he?
I thought he wasn't.
But that's how you get back. That could be your last movie. Okay. That's how you get to Kevin Bacon.
You're right.
See? Hello. All right. So another thing that aired on HBO, this is like the HBO show here on TV Hangover. The Girls finale aired on Sunday. It was a 2-parter, which I didn't think was necessary, but I figured they were trying to burn it off before we got to Veep and Game of Thrones, right? I would say we both agreed that this season has been very strong, season 5. It's the penultimate season. Season 6 is the last one. And, it kind of, I think, reignited the love people have for the show.
Well, for me, it ignited it because, I'd been a long-time hate watcher. And I finally just turned around a little bit last season and more this season, which I think, and the reason why I hated it, which some people would say, you idiot, that's the point of the show, is that they were just so unlikable, every single one of them. And they were so millennial. They were so aggressively millennial. It was very difficult for me to watch it.
Yeah.
and that some of them at least seem to have grown over certainly this last season, certainly in the last episode of the season with Hannah. Does it take away from what Lena Dunham is trying to do by having them grow out of it, or do you think that's the plan the whole time?
I think there's something that you said that I disagree with. Mm-hmm. I don't think the point was for people to dislike these characters. I think that when the show premiered, it was not a show for us. It was not a show for you and me. It was a show for people in that age range. And I knew at that time when it premiered, a lot of people in the millennial generation, and they loved it. And they were like, "Oh yeah, this is totally what our lives are like, and this is what my friends are like." And I honestly, I think,
you don't think that Lena Dunham was offering some satire for us of these people?
No, honestly, I don't. I think she was trying to offer the real experience of that generation and to tell their story. And I think now that they're growing up, that's why we're relating to it, because we're older. We're not of that generation. We see this is how sort of life works. You get closer to 30 and you realize it's not all fun and games and the world doesn't revolve around you, and there are other important... Still learning, that the world doesn't revolve around you and there are other things that are important. So I think maybe the show or Lena Dunham realized that there was a dual audience there. But when it initially premiered, I wouldn't say that most people hated the characters. I think that there were a lot of people who loved those characters.
Are you saying that everybody who hated the characters, and there were a lot of people who hated the characters, were not of the millennial generation?
That is correct.
Okay. I think there was always a level of satire going on there.
Maybe, but I'm telling you, the millennials did not see that satire. They thought it was true to life.
I think an example of what you're saying, in that you realize that the world is not about you, is that she was become more generous with some of the secondary characters this season, where Elijah finally had a storyline. You're getting more of her parents in there, as opposed to just people she's reacting to.
Well, let's talk about Elijah.
Okay.
Because in part one, Elijah's been dating this broadcast...
Anderson Cooper-esque character.
Would you say Anderson?
Yes, I would say.
But I don't think Anderson Cooper's that jerky.
No, I don't think he is.
And also, let's be clear, Anderson Cooper is in a long-term committed relationship. He's not sleeping around with a bunch of young men in New York City, as far as we know.
As far as we know.
But okay, fine. Anderson Cooper-esque broadcast journalist.
Broadcaster played by the great Corey Stoll. I adore him.
Okay. The great Corey Stoll.
He is. He's the great Corey Stoll.
And so they've been dating, and, Elijah finally decides, like, he wants this man, even though he's a cad.
And he found out, I guess, last week that he sleeps around.
Right. That Elijah is one of many. He's not the boyfriend. He's just the guy in the harem, essentially. So Elijah gets all dressed up, which I thought was really funny. He gets all dressed up in
a collarless suit. I didn't understand that, actually. I didn't understand that, where the woman comes over and she's like, "I think this is what you need for this, engagement."
And he wouldn't know. I mean, it's not like he dresses up like that all the time, so he sort of just went with it. But, so Elijah gets dressed up, goes down to the studio, and he gives this grand speech, and the response was, "Well, we'll let you hear it."
Dill, don't you want to be with someone who sees you for you? Don't you want a boyfriend? Someone who's honest?
Wow. Hold on. You're not wrong. I've wanted something serious for a while, and then maybe this is the time.
That's what I'm saying.
That's not what I mean. I'm looking for someone special.
Burn.
A special someone for me.
And I'm not that someone.
What can I say, Elijah? Love is so mysterious.
What does he look like?
Elijah.
No, I'm just curious. I'm really curious. What does this person even look like?
I don't know. Someone closer to my own age. Tall.
Tall. We're like the same height. How much taller could a person be?
Someone less aimless.
Ooh, double burn. I mean, first of all, this guy has some nerve to call Elijah aimless. He's been sleeping around town, partying it up.
Maybe he's been very purposeful about sleeping around.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yes.
I mean, that scene, I was like, Elijah is all of us in this moment.
I know. I really felt for him.
I did too. But you're right. Andrew Reynolds had a lot more to do this season as Elijah. I mean, he's always been sort of a guest star, but he was a regular.
He was a regular, but he was just there to, make catty comments on the sidelines,
right.
Really. But I loved his catty comments, don't get me wrong.
Right. I still can't get over the fact that he slept with Marnie. Like, they were boyfriend and girlfriend. It's very strange. Okay, so that was the gist of what happened in part 1. Is that, and then, of course, Ray and... Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. The other thing I thought was very interesting was Jenny Slate came on as sort of the anti-Hannah Horvath.
Is that who that was?
Yeah, that's who it was. And she's been a successful writer and everything. And I thought, are we hearing Lena Dunham talk through this character where she was talking basically how exhausting it was and how she has to live by how other people see her. Mm-hmm. She has to Google herself, who's writing about her this week. And right. I felt that seemed very, a very honest piece of writing there.
No, I did too. And then one of my favorite quotes from that scene, or from their whole interaction, was when Jenny Slate said, "Hop your leg over, get your vagina on that seat, and ride into the future," when she was encouraging Hannah to steal the bike. Which I was like, you know what? We should all do that.
Yes.
Not steal a bike necessarily, but ride into the future. I did like their entire interaction. Then they got ridiculously high.
Yes.
And I love when Hannah turned to her and she was like, "Should we have sex now?"
They were considering it. I liked.
No.
Although considering Hannah's, previous experience.
Yes, a few weeks
ago. To the lesbian realm, maybe not.
Yes, no, we could live without. And then, of course, Ray and annoying Marnie, she finally decided she wants to be with him, and they hook up, and now they're boyfriend and girlfriend.
I cannot pretend to know what goes on in the male mind, and I know that it is they have a little dinosaur brain, and they think with other parts of their body. Mm-hmm. But it's like Ray. I've always liked. Well, and I have not always liked Ray. I think they did a major character reevaluation on him, but I've liked him so much. He is the moral compass of the show. Why does he like Marnie?
I don't know.
Why?
I cannot figure this out. And then when we get to part 2, so we'll move on to part 2, you find out that Marnie's going on tour with Desi. We knew that from last week. And she asked Ray to go with her, and he's like, "Sure. I'm going to leave the coffee shop that is in my name and go on tour with you to fetch you coffee and carry your guitar." Like, why would
forget about the community board that he was elected to, which they finally mentioned.
They did mention that.
Finally.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
I don't get it. But, the Marnie storyline is always the least interesting, in my opinion. Shoshana's back. Mm-hmm. From Japan.
Oh, that was so funny when she's all like Harriet the Spy / Carmen Sandiego at the hipster really coffee house across the street.
Right. And then she comes up with the anti-hipster marketing campaign for Rays.
Yeah. And, the moment when she was dancing with Colin Quinn at the end, I don't know what it is about two people who aren't dating dancing. Like, I'm going back to Mad Men with Dawn and Peggy. There's just something about it that I just adore. Like, just have people who aren't dating dance all the time.
Why not? We can make that happen. We can dance, Vicki.
That was honestly one of my favorite moments.
Yeah, I'm glad that Shoshana's back in New York. And now let's get to the big story. So Jessa and Adam are still dating, which I hate. We've discussed the girl code.
I don't hate. And their relationship comes under a lot of stress because Adam's sister disappears, leaving Leif, whatever his name is, who wears the hat with the baby sample.
Right.
And he sort of flakes out, so they've been taking care of samples, something that Jessa is really not equipped to do. And Adam is not being very understanding of, it's a lot of stress in a relationship.
Why does Adam need to be understanding? I think Jessa was being extremely selfish. And
I think at one point she was, and she realized how she was being, but it's also like, dude, this is yours. This is not my thing.
Excuse me.
They've been dating for how long?
Yeah, but they practically live together. And that's his nephew. Nephew?
I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. I think it's a girl, actually. I think Sample's a girl.
He's the uncle.
I know. Well, anyway, their relationship is under a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Which brings out a lot of ugliness between them. And we know that they both have a propensity for, drama.
Right.
And, and for him, apparently violence.
Well, yes. When we knew that when he was dating Hannah. But we have a clip of the fight, of the catalyst, I would say, for the major fight that they had.
You know, last time we saw Hannah... I'm sorry, just one last thing. I can't get out of my head. Last time we saw Hannah, she called me Miss. And you, sir. Didn't that upset you?
No, it didn't. I'm fucking fine. Thanks. In fact, you bringing it up all the time is really starting to piss me off. She's not in our lives anymore. Why can't you just fucking let it go?
You really don't get it, do you?
No, I really don't.
Hannah is my dearest friend. She will always come first. We may not be talking right now. And I hope to God that changes. So, you saying that she's not in our lives anymore doesn't work for me. You know, people hate me. I'm a hateable kind of person. I don't know why, I can't help it. Maybe it's because I have a big ass and good hair, but I know that I have principles. And one thing I don't do is steal people's boyfriends. But you ruin that. Don't you see that? I'll never forgive you. I will never forgive you for that. We could die in the same bed, and I will never forgive you.
So I thought that was a pretty telling and powerful scene, and then immediately following, they start trashing the apartment.
Yes. One of the things I love about the show is that I feel that it's very true to female relationships. I don't think that their male-female relationships are quite as strong or as believable. I mean, certainly with Fran, it was like, the entire time it was like, what is going on here?
Right.
I also, and I had a conversation with Chris about this, one of our colleagues, about how I've never really bought Hannah and Adam together as like true loves. And she really did feel like she had moved on from him. And I know that seeing her best friend with him brings up all this horrible stuff. But for Hannah, it seemed to be more about Adam. And for Jessa, it was more about Hannah. And Adam didn't seem to care very much about either one.
Really? No, that part I agree with.
I mean, Jessa, it was clearly about her, about Hannah.
But I think for Hannah, it was about Jessa as well.
I think it's about Jessa as well, but it seemed to be more about Adam.
What made you feel that way?
I think that the entire, I just felt like her at the moth. She was talking about leaving the basket for Adam, hoping that you're happy.
We do have a clip of that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. But I think that it just seemed to be more Adam directed.
Okay. No, okay. That part I do agree with, but I think all of her actions prior to that made it, for me, feel more Jessa directed. Because I think that the difference is that she can close the door on Adam. She can't close the door on Jessa. They're going to be friends again. I can't imagine they wouldn't be friends again. So for Hannah, giving the fruit basket or whatever it was to Adam was sort of saying like, all right, I'm done with you. Like, go on and be happy. She can't do that with Jessa. She's not done with Jessa. They are friends. Their friendship goes deeper. That's going to require something more than the fruit basket, I would say.
I like what you're saying. I just didn't feel that.
Okay. Well,
it didn't feel like that to me.
So Hannah's whole storyline in the finale was that she was going to perform at the Moth Story Slam. Her mother and Elijah were there to support, and the theme was jealousy, which was apropos given what's happened with Jessa and Adam. And here is a clip from her story.
When I heard tonight's theme was jealousy, I knew that I needed an end to my story, a real end, and that end came about 20 minutes before I arrived here when I delivered a very nice and not at all cheap fruit basket to his door, along with a note that said, "Good luck. I mean it sincerely. In perpetuity, Hannah." Because that's a fact. I'm Hannah forever. No matter what I do, no matter whether I, start a new nuclear missile crisis with my emotions or just sit back and chill and give someone a fruit basket. I can only control the mayhem that I create around me. But the crazy thing is that when I showed up, I heard screaming. And I heard my name, and I heard madness, and I knew that I was free, at least for tonight. That's all. Thank you.
So this was again another very powerful scene. A lot of monologues, I would say, in the last two episodes of the season. But I thought that may have been the one time in the entire run of this series where Hannah did not just annoy the crap out of me. It seemed like a very real moment. I think we saw her grow up right in front of our eyes. And this is the Hannah that she was always meant to be. You don't think so?
I think that there will always be a higher level of self-absorption with Hannah, and and a lack of clarity about herself. And I think that is actually part of her character, and it was great to see her. Like, it's kind of like the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, I think, with Hannah. So she's always going to have things that are going to be incredibly annoying about her. She's always going to get on people's nerves, but this was a moment that, She certainly did not bug me.
She did not. No, she did not. But it did bug me is when she was running over after she got off the bridge at the end. Yeah. And she started running. And the only thing I could think was, is that how Lena Dunham runs or is that how Hannah runs? Either way, it's made me uncomfortable.
I would bet it's both. It did not make me uncomfortable. I loved it. I thought it was a very freeing moment, except I just felt it a little cheesy when it closed on the freeze frame. And I appreciate the, like there is nothing, self-conscious really about Lena Dunham and or Hannah Horvath.
But see, that's
where closing on that, it's like, well, I would not want my show to close on me with that kind of weird face. But
yeah, the face was weird. The running was even more weird. But I think that, and I talked about this with Chris, our colleague, as well, that I'm kind of over the whole, I'm Hannah and I'm free. I'm a millennial. I'm not self-aware, and like her clothing choices. Yeah, I'm taking it there. Because in the finale, I believe it was part 1, where she's jogging up and down her street, and she has on the sports bra and the running pants. I'm sorry. As a larger girl myself, or formerly large girl, that would not be caught dead in that outfit. I don't care how
If we're going to go there, can we just talk about the bathing suit she was wearing in the woods with her mother on the female retreat?
Yes.
That was like...
Or that ill-fitting dress that she put on. I'm sorry, look. I understand Lena Dunham's point.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm behind it.
And I'm behind it as well. But I think she's taken it to a level where it's unrealistic. Because as someone who's had that body and or similar, and who's known people with that body, they're not that confident in how they look. And I get that she's saying you should wear whatever you want, but then to me that sort of detracts from reality a little bit. And so I would just say Hannah needs to dress better for her body type.
Well, no, I mean, she can dress better for her body type, and you could argue that, she has the opportunity to, show that you can look great.
But she doesn't look great. That's the problem.
I know. I said she's the opportunity to do it, and she doesn't always take it.
Never takes it.
No, that's not true. What? She has taken. I'm going to go back to Zach Posen, the yellow mermaid dress, like 3 years ago at the screen. I don't know when it was.
Oh, you're talking about in real life?
In real life.
Oh,
I'm saying both in real life and on the show.
I think that in real life, Lena Dunham wears clothing that like any girl would want to wear so that they would feel beautiful, and I think that's fine. I don't think that's what Hannah does. I think Hannah wears clothing that other girls her age wears, thinking that she looks great, and that is not how someone with that body type dresses in real life.
I don't know if I feel comfortable with this discussion anymore.
Why?
I don't like,
I'm not body shaming her. There's nothing wrong with her body.
It's like, I almost don't like even to bring this into the discussion.
Why? It's such a huge part of the show that you can't. It's like when people don't want to talk about the fact that Lena Dunham is naked in many of these episodes, and she's even talked about that, and it's like, well, this is what happens in real life.
I don't think is true. It's like, I'm sorry,
that is correct. That's what I'm saying.
That actually bothered me. But remember when she took off her underwear when she was staying in the room with her mother?
Yes.
And it's like, do people take off their underwear and leave their top on to stay in a room?
And get in bed? Absolutely not. And then people would say like, oh, well, it's your body shaming Lena Dunham. I'm not. Another thing I discussed with our colleague Chris is that final scene where you see Jessa and Adam, laying on the floor, I guess, after they've had sex and tore up the apartment. And all I could focus on was Jessa's landing strip vagina, and I didn't need to see that either. I don't care who's naked. I don't care what size you are. Like, I just think on this show, sometimes the nudity is gratuitous, and it doesn't really serve a real purpose. That's just me personally. But the whole Hannah not dressing I won't even say dressing for her body type, but just dressing in a way that would make her actually look good, pisses me off.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Can we talk for a moment, going back to the scene with Jess and Adam about the violence in that scene? And do you feel that they were making light of domestic violence? Do you think they were playing that scene for laughs, where they're like throwing things and ripping things apart, and he bursts through the door and she was just like, "You're absolutely crazy"?
Did you think it was funny?
No, I didn't think it was funny,
neither.
but I was wondering whether we were supposed to think it was funny.
If we were supposed to think it was funny, they failed miserably.
Yeah.
It's disturbing, and they failed because I didn't think it was funny at all. But do you think that maybe that's a generational thing?
I don't know.
I didn't think it was funny. I thought it was really serious. I was like, wow, this is taking a dark turn. And then the fact at the end that they slept together.
That's what made me wonder. Is like, is this supposed to be funny? Because this is very dark.
So what I was thinking at the end when we realized they slept together was, wow, these are two really flawed human beings, and thank God Hannah's no longer in that situation. But now Jess is in that situation, so I don't know. But maybe they're meant to be these two crazy people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you feel that Adam and Hannah are meant to be?
No.
Okay.
Oh, no. I don't think Adam's meant to be with anyone. I think Adam's pretty disgusting. I mean, do you remember what he was like in the beginning?
I absolutely remember what he was like. And when he was like with Sherry Appleby,
yes.
that nice woman that he dated.
Yes.
Yeah, he's
yeah.
But I do feel that he has grown some over the course of the season, and I did like that he and Jessa were together because they both seem to want to grow together, whereas a lot of other people on the show seemed stuck in who they were.
Right.
And so that's one of the reasons why I was excited to see them together. But and everybody was sort of saying around them, "That's a really bad idea. That's a really bad idea." And I was like, "No," because they're both growing, learning from their mistakes. And then at the end,
it seemed like
with
they
the
regressed.
extra stresses.
Yeah.
And I and it goes back to the problem I have where Jessa seemed to be very concerned about how Hannah was feeling about the situation. Whereas as I was saying, it felt uneven with how Hannah was feeling about the situation.
Right. All right. Well, another good season of Girls. We have the final season coming up next year, and we'll see how it all ends. Now, before we get to our exclusive interview. Exclusive. We have some breaking news, which is very odd
You're going to read it.
I am, on a podcast, because you're not going to hear this later.
I'm sorry, this is not funny.
But
funny
no,
news.
very serious situation. So this is from E! Online. I have to give them credit, but Vicki will have her own story up soon. Former Real Housewives of New Jersey castmate Jim Marchese was arrested after walking out of a plane at Los Angeles airport late Tuesday night. According to a statement from the airport's police officers were called to the airport's Terminal 3 after an incident arose inside the aircraft. So police have told E! News that at the request of officers, a male suspect and a female victim left the aircraft. Additional questioning revealed the suspect had grabbed the victim by the throat and made threats against her. So Jim Marchese was arrested and transported to LAPD Pacific Division, where he was booked. He was charged with domestic violence and is being held on $50,000 bail. He's scheduled to be back in court on May 11th. He's 46 years old. After the incident, Amber Marchese, about half an hour later, took to Instagram and posted a black and white photo of herself with the caption, "Red Eye, yup." Not really sure what a red eye is. I know what a black eye is.
Did she have a black eye or a red eye?
It's very hard to tell in this photo.
Was he just saying, yeah, those red eyes are tough?
Maybe.
We got into an argument? Ugh.
Maybe.
Well, he's very, very active on Twitter.
Is he on Twitter now?
I'm looking right now.
Oh, okay. Vicki, you've spoken to Jim a few times. We saw him.
Yeah.
We saw him on the show. This is, of course, very disturbing news, but we have to wait until the whole story comes out to...
Well, he's very active on Twitter, but not right now.
Well, that makes sense. Well, of course, we'll bring you more information on this when we can. Make sure you check NJ.com/entertainment. Vicki Hyman will be all over it.
Well, I mean, as over it as I will be for a person who was formerly on a reality show.
Yeah, well.
Yes.
Wow. All right, Vicki, so you spoke to, speaking of reality shows.
Speaking of reality that are currently on the air.
Yes. A contestant, CC Collazzo
of Teaneck, my hometown.
Yes, who is appearing on this new reality show called Strong.
Yes.
From executive producers
Sylvester Stallone. And it should be said also producers from American Ninja Warrior and The Biggest Loser, because this is basically like all those things together. And it actually premiered last week, and it's coming airs on Thursday nights. And I have to say, I actually really enjoyed it. I put off I often put off interviews with local cast members until I figure out like whether I like the show, whether it's interesting, whether they have something to say. And CC and her trainer, Adam von Rothfelder, I think, immediately sort of became the like sort of standout I guess you can call them villains a little bit, of the season, because there's a bit of Survivor in there where you compete. The show is about women who are out of shape, but we're not talking like forklifting out of your house kind of out of shape, like Biggest Loser out of shape. And they are all paired with male elite fitness trainers, and they all have different ways of training, and they have to compete against one another and avoid the elimination tower, and avoid getting kicked off. And the winning team gets as much as $500,000. And they kind of like rocked it right out of the gate. And it's actually a very interesting show. And I had a nice talk with her.
All right, so let's take a listen.
Thank you for speaking with me today. I had, I knew that you were going to be on Strong, and I didn't get a chance to watch the screener ahead of time, but then I saw it last week, and I just thought I was really entertained by it. I didn't know what I was expecting. Sort of like a combination of like maybe American Ninja Warrior and The Biggest Loser, but without people really having to lose a lot of weight. Because obviously you guys are you're in pretty good shape. I wouldn't mind being in the shape that you guys are in.
I would say that's not true for all of the females, but yes.
Well,
some came in a little heavier than others.
Yes, but we're not. It's not The Biggest Loser territory there.
It's not The Biggest Loser for sure.
Okay. So I was wondering, how did you hear about the show, and what motivated you to apply for it?
I received randomly in my inbox an email that said, "Do you want to be strong?" It was on a particular day where I was at work, and I was, just feeling a little lost and uninspired and a little frustrated with my workouts. And I went to my desk, and back to my desk. I had to do some things, and I got the email, "Do you want to be strong?" And heck yes, I do. And it was 20 to 30 pounds, which is where I was. And I auditioned. I went to the New York auditions with my husband, actually, because the initial casting was for men and women. And I got a phone call that day, by the time I got home, that they were interested in me submitting more information. So I sent videos and photos. And then I was taken to California, and the process happened sort of quickly. It was initially very fast, and then towards the end it was a little slow in finding out that I was finally cast for it. But it was very exciting all around.
So when you went out to California, and presumably you saw the set, was there a moment?
No, never saw the set.
You never saw the set?
Never saw the set.
When you went out for...
I accepted to go on to this show knowing nothing. We knew nothing of what the workouts would be like, what the format of the show was going to be. I only knew that I signed up to be on a show that was going to air on NBC, and I was going to lose 20 to 30 pounds and get stronger. I knew nothing of the format.
So at what point did you start to wonder, what in the world did I get myself into? Was it when you saw one of like that enormous,
it was
whatever it is?
It was day one, yes, the day one, the first day challenge, because we were, sequestered for some time before we actually met, so that everything could be as genuine as it was on TV. We didn't know each other at all, and we get together and we see this tremendous arena and this obstacle in front of us, and we just wondering what is going on, and the energy and all the people, and you really start to grasp this is a huge production.
Yeah.
So not until day one.
I don't know how they put that thing together, and they kept on putting together all those different challenges, and I was like, oh my God, I think somebody called it, I think maybe it was the second or third episode, the Spool of Hell, that barrel challenge. I was like, I mean, thank God you didn't have to do that one, right? That was just strictly for your trainers.
For the guys. Like, I would like to do, I'm the kind that would totally have loved to have done that, just to see. But definitely, I was glad that I didn't, our stay on the show wasn't determined by my performance on that thing.
Oh my goodness! So the very first day you get to choose your trainers, and they sort of show off in front of you, and they took a sledgehammer to like concrete or something. What made you decide to choose Adam?
Adam was just one of those. He stands out, right? He has just. There's a spirit and energy about him, and he told us that whoever picked him wouldn't be sorry, and that he knows what it's like to fight. And I'm a fighter, and he was still available when it was my turn to pick, and I went with Adam. He's got great tattoos on top of everything, so he's not bad to look at.
No, none of them are really that bad to look at.
Right.
One of the things I've enjoyed about watching the show is seeing the different training methods that the men use. And Adam seems to have a very interesting training method. I think he might have called it commotion at one point. He doesn't really use the machines so much. He uses his own body weight. Was that hard to get used to? And is that something that you're still doing now that the show is over? Those sort of things he taught you?
Not only does he, yes, absolutely. Not only does he not use the traditional machines, and that he likes to use body weight, he also likes to move in different ways, and so he would constantly push me out of my comfort zone, into breathing exercises. And there were other games that he would play. He would take a towel and swing that at me, and I'd have to duck and move. And he's all about movement more so than just heavy lifting. And it was hard to watch myself, in a few of the clips because you feel so self-conscious. People are watching, and it's just you're doing things that you don't normally do, and it was hard to watch. And as far as today, I absolutely do everything and more of what he initially taught me. And I'm finally able to do those pull-ups and chin-ups that I couldn't do before. I can do toes to bars. I can lift and squat more than I have in a very, very long time. And I'm just so happy on my progression and just seeing the strength that I have, being able to pull my own body weight, which is something so many women we struggle with.
That challenge that you had in last Thursday's episode where you had to throw the ball, you had to do sit-ups, like pick up a ball and then throw it up. I was like, my stomach was screaming in agony, and I was just sitting there on my couch eating potato chips. So,
yes, it that one, when we heard 10 minutes, we were like, oh my goodness. We all just, we all wondered who was going to run out of steam first, and I was so disappointed on losing, on dropping the ball that day. But, it is what it is. Things happen, and, you're going to get beat up, and things that are never going to be perfect, and you just roll with the punches.
One thing I was surprised about by sort of I know it's on a different network, the Survivor-like strategy that you would use to pick the people who are going to the elimination challenge, the elimination tower. Were you surprised by how much strategy there was and how much ill will that it seemed to generate, particularly in regards to Adam?
Yes. Well, whenever you get 20, complete random strangers together and you say, here at the end of this tunnel there's possibly $500,000, that competitive edge is going to come out for each and every person there. And we really struggled with the decision whether to go, the strategic way or do we go the fair way. And at the end of the day, I don't regret any of the decisions that we made, because we really thought them out, we thought them through, and ultimately I feel that most people would make the same choice. You have to be smart. This is a marathon, and as you're getting stronger, so are your competitors. And you need to be sure that you're going to have the people you want to fight your fight in a smart way. You don't want to have a bunch of strong people, or the strongest teams around you, just getting stronger week to week. So if you can eliminate one of those, then that's the thing to do.
You discussed on the show that you suffer from fibromyalgia. Could you just tell me a little bit about what it is and how that has affected your own fitness, and whether or not this experience on Strong has helped that at all?
Fibromyalgia is definitely something that I've been struggling with ever since its diagnosis. It's a disease that I feel like the diagnosis itself means we don't really know what's wrong with you, but we understand that you are not crazy and you actually have these symptoms and these problems. And I've had my own successes dealing with it, and in reality, it's all about proper fitness. And it's a catch-22 because you're too tired and you're in so much pain and you don't want to work out. But actually, when I work out is when I feel the best. I have no pain when I'm working out. You know, after the adrenaline goes down a little bit, then afterwards the pain kind of kicks back in. Mm-hmm. So I do wish that they would do more studies as to why when you have fibromyalgia and you work out regularly, you have such a positive response to it. But that said, the show has helped me, you know, in the ways that it did before, that it gives me more motivation now to go to the gym. I've always been kind of a gym rat, but now I just feel like I've sacrificed so much to be on the show and went through so much on the show that it's that fire that just it's not going to burn out, because I've suffered so much to go through this, and I do feel a lot better.
Thanks for speaking with us today.
All right, Vicki, that sounded like a good interview. You had a good time with CC?
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I regret is that as soon as I got off the phone call, I went back to my desk, and my editor, Chris, who apparently reads TMZ a lot, told me that her trainer, Adam, they just unearthed some nude photos of him, which I didn't get a chance to ask her about.
They have unearthed some nude photos. And Adam von Rothfelder. Google that, people, or just go to TMZ, because I took a look and that's all I have to say. All right, so that'll do it for another raunchy episode of TV Hangover. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at TV Hangover Show, at @E_meds, and at Vicki High, VICKIHY. We will be back on Monday with our post Game of Thrones premiere episode. Cannot wait. Maybe we'll throw in a little Veep, but it'll most likely be Game of Thrones. So until then, have a good time watching TV.